so shine.
Peace and blessings, family, and welcome to Labors of Love podcast. We are here to inspire, uplift, and enlighten. Each episode, we will be hearing from Black midwives, doulas, and other traditional childbirth supporters who have dedicated their lives to being of service to Black mothers and families in all aspects of the motherhood journey. LaShanda Dandrich is an international board-certified lactation consultant, IBCLC. After the birth of her daughter in 2009, her passion for breastfeeding and supporting families in the postpartum period blossomed. She became a trained postpartum doula while pursuing her IBCLC credential. She has supported families of all diverse cultural and socio-economic backgrounds throughout New York City. She is the co-founder of Uptown Village Cooperative, a cooperative of birth professionals of color. She also created and is part owner of Lactation Learning Collective, which focuses on mentoring others on their path to the IBCLC credential. She is facilitator and is on the board of Chocolate Milk Cafe, a national nonprofit of peer-to-peer led lactation support groups for African American families. She currently lives in Harlem, New York, with her 12-year-old daughter. They love to travel around New York and other islands outside of Manhattan. Thank you and welcome. Peace and blessings. Welcome.
Thank you. Can you hear me? I always have technical issues. Okay. Are we good?
I hear you perfectly.
Okay. How are you?
I am well. I'm glad we could make this happen, LaShanda.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And that you could come up here on Labors of Love and just share your story, your experience, and, just let the people know. I always feel like, sometimes these bios don't do it the justice that is necessary. So definitely feel free to add anything on that you would like us to know about you.
Bios, especially when I have to write it myself, I'm always like, I don't know what to say. But yes, I'm an IBCLC International Board Certified Lactation Consultant. I'm happy that, we get to do these podcasts and, keep getting those letters out there. Because as we know, in America, the letters behind your name mean, something, right? They don't give you a privilege to treat people how they want, even though some people think that, but they do tend to mean something. So, the IBCLC is kind of I like to kind of explain it as an RN versus what do you call that? Like a nurse's aide or something, So it's usually the lactation consultants that have had more experience in working with the lactating parent and the babies. So if you have more, you need more help, babies not latching and stuff, you want to get an IBCLC. Not that the other support, the lactation support isn't valuable, but I just feel like, in our community, sometimes we don't know what those letters are like. And then but when you're having an issue, you do want to seek the most experienced person. So it's just, again, the alphabet soup of letters out there. So when you see all these letters behind people's names, then we should really get to know what they mean and what they.
I appreciate the education because I don't think I fully knew, just all of the different nuances and certifications and things of that nature that come along. And like you said, when there are, especially when there's a specialty kind of thing going on with the non-latching baby or your breastfeeding experience, you definitely want to tap into those who have gone through the training, know the techniques, and definitely articulate.
It's a lot of words and a lot of letters, but for people to know what that means instead of just reading it.
Right. So in addition to being a lactation consultant, you're also a doula. Is that correct? Postpartum doula?
Yes, I started out as a postpartum doula. I did that training because, I think a lot of people's stories is that, I had my daughter, like it says, and you get into like this, I want to, help people more and do this. And so doula, I was introduced when I was pregnant to what a doula was. And I was like, that sounds like something that I could definitely do. I'm was already in as a physical therapy assistant before. I went to massage school. So I was in that kind of like helping people to kind of know your body and, be empowered in your body type of fields. So doula was something that I definitely thought of, but then I was like, oh, well, I can't just run to a birth with a little baby, I had my daughter. So looking into it more, I found out that there was a postpartum doula and you could do just that, you can do either or. And then it just made sense for me. I feel like the birth I was okay with. I prepared myself as much as I felt comfortable for myself. But then afterwards, people were kind of like, hey, you got that. And it was like, but do I? Do I really? And so when it was somebody who, there's this person that can come in and help them, because we don't celebrate that time period enough. We don't help out enough as much as we did back in when there was the true village, right? And so that, and then once I got into more lactation, it just went hand in hand to be more of a postpartum support.
No, that's excellent. To kind of go back a little bit, you mentioned it sounds like you were already in the healing arts. You were doing massage therapy. So prior to becoming pregnant with your daughter, what were the messages around childbirth, around pregnancy, around motherhood? And what is your earliest recollection of putting those things kind of in context?
My earliest recollections of motherhood, I would say, weren't the best, meaning that, I grew up in the 90s. I was a teenager in the 90s, and then you had like the 80s. I've had seen of, and it was like a whole, I don't think it was like a boom, but it made it seem, society made it seem like this boom of, Black teenage mothers, and that's not good. You know what I mean? So it was like pregnancy was this thing that it was like, you didn't really want to do so early, what I mean? Just not a lot of positivity where you had the TV and the movies where it's like, oh my goodness, you're pregnant and this is happy. It wasn't really a celebrated thing, right? I do know when I actually became pregnant, even around that, I was like, why is everybody telling me like the most horrible stories of their needing the epidural and how it hurt and this and that? I wasn't getting any positive things really, So it was just like, but I guess like I'm being kind of in the fields where like celebrating the body, again, massage, like physical therapy. I've always loved the body and how amazing the body is. So that's why I ended up going into those fields. When people were telling me their story, I just always remember, that's nice, but I'm going to have my own story. This is my own story for me and my baby. And I was able to shut that out. And again, being a postpartum doula and lactation consultant, that's what I wanted to help people do. Like, you're going to hear the stories, but this is your personal story for you and your baby and your body. And that's what you really need to hold on to. So that's what pushed me into the field, really, of being not like, oh, I had such a great experience and I want everybody to have a great experience. Not that either, right? Because it can go either way. It's like, it's horrible and they want to tell you all the horrible stories and it's just this beautiful thing. But if it's not going beautiful for you in the moment, you want people to be able to hear that and respect that too. Yeah. So I feel like I can help people get that good balance. Like, this is all that it could be, but what it's gonna be for you and your baby, each baby, right? So even if you're pregnant with multiples, if you're, having your second or third child, every story is different. So just allow yourselves to have your own story and not really take what everyone is kind of saying to you. Even if it's good, like great things, it's like, that was great for you, but this is just my story that I wanted to have.
I think that is so powerful and so important because, like you said, no two births are the same. You could be, you could have had 9 children, and each of those births are going to be a different experience for you.
Exactly.
And I like the fact that there has to be, like, you don't want it to be surrounded by fear. And I think that's the importance of the education aspect of it and the information that's there, and empowering yourself so that you're not like coming into this blind, that you have some expectations as to how things flow and somewhat what you can expect, but also that this is going to be your and your baby's experience together, however it plans out. And even the understanding that what someone decides for themselves is a positive birth experience is not consistent across the board.
Exactly.
And what somebody might deem horrible, somebody else might be like, I got through and my baby got through. So, so it's just perspectives. I appreciate that level of support, and to be able to not make it a cookie cutter thing, or, just be there to hold space for whatever it is.
Exactly.
So it sounds like it was your experience with your pregnancy, labor, delivery that kind of inspired you or pushed you to go deeper into what it all entails, or how that.
Yeah. So like I said, I found out what a doula was. Once I really found out what a birth doula was, it was like, I don't think I can really do that because I couldn't leave my little baby. But at the same time, it was like, I feel so many people are doing birth, right? God bless the birth doulas. Like, you can go and you can run, you can do birth, and that's great, right? But again, I felt like the postpartum period was getting left out. And still to this day, it's like, even, like with lactation, like people will come to me and they'd want to know what I can buy to help, breastfeeding and stuff. And it's like, that's not it. It's not just it's not a magic pill. You really have to plan for your postpartum. And so I teach newborn care classes as well. And when people are taking them, I'm like, what you're going to walk away with from my class is a lot of homework. And that homework is going to be to think about what your postpartum support is going to look like. That is the main thing that we need to do. And I always joke with people who like take my class, and my doula friends and stuff. When I was getting hired by clients, I almost wanted to put it on my card, like, I am the doula that hates stuff. Do not ask me what to put on your registry, because it is not about what to put on a registry, right? That's not going to get you through, right? So, but yeah, just researching that, the birth versus the postpartum. I think a lot of doulas say this and make this reference that the birth and all that is like the wedding, right? But the marriage is that you got to put in the work, right? And that's the postpartum, and the relationship that you're having with your human, all the humans in the house that are, happening, like, that's when the real work starts. Like, sometimes pregnancy, like, that's the fun part. Like, once this baby comes, the real work is going to start. So, yeah, just researching that in terms of lactation, like really researching the lack of support in general for lactation, because we're not a real breastfeeding or human milk feeding society. We are a bottle feeding society, right? So in that, and then breaking that down to the disparities. And I was like, oh yeah, I gotta get into this. I gotta help people, I gotta, like you said, it's the education. It's not that, I'm got into this because I want to make sure that everyone puts that baby on a boob and breastfeed. That wasn't my mission. My thing is, here is the information. Make a decision. But if you are just going either way and you haven't been given the whole information to make, all the correct information to really make that decision, then that's a problem with anything, right? So really just, like you said, getting the information, getting it out there to the community as much as I can, talk about it as many podcasts as I can. That's the ultimate goal.
Right. And you said so many things that just like, bring up just various emotions and energy around it. But one of the key things is like the importance of postpartum support. And like you said, we focus so much on, we have the baby showers and we buy all the little things, and depending on how big the baby is, when you come out, half the stuff you can't, put on them, and you got all these knickknacks and doodads and contraptions, and then you realize in the process that really didn't need all of that, but a nap would have been really good.
Thank you. Thank you.
Somebody folding the laundry or doing the dishes would have been
exactly. So that is more valuable.
Yes. So as far as preparing for postpartum, I think it's a novel idea. Like, we have these blessing ways and kind of the circles that I'm in, and some of it is postpartum support. Are those some things that should be put on a registry as far as being able to hire a postpartum doula? And are there, well, you're in New York State, and it seems like they passed legislation there that is somewhat more supportive of doula support, or is there still some ways to go from a compensation or a
there's still some ways to go. Yeah, there's still some ways to go. The doula bill, I'm not 100% up on it. Like, I get more into the lactation, so like, I don't know exactly what was the final decision on that, and how I believe it's birth doulas are covered, and that's by Medicaid, and so. But the last time I had like been hearing about it was like, you have to like sign up. It's all bureaucracy. It's all like paperwork and stuff. And like, the average doula, we don't have time to do all the paperwork. Like, we have to be in there getting, so it's definitely barriers. But we do have, I'm in New York City, and we do have some programs where it's based on your income. You can get either free doula services or low income doula services. Uptown Village Cooperative, that's what we do, based on, we don't really take your information, we don't ask you for tax returns and such, but we do have what we call our village birth doulas who will take a birth for a discounted price, right? If you can afford one of the more retail prices, let's say, right? So there are many programs out there like that. You just have to kind of search for them sometimes, but they're out there. So if you're sitting at home listening to us, don't think that you can't afford a doula. We, especially us in the community, we are always finding ways to make it more accessible. And if I can't do it, then I know of a program that I can shift you to, So we take care of the community. We take care of our own, like, in that ways. Right. But yes, I think it's something, again, people don't value enough. They, somebody's like, oh, I always say, if somebody owes you a baby shower gift, they couldn't get you a baby shower gift, they were going to get you a stroller or something, right? Or one of these pumps that are $500. If they were thinking about getting you that, like, tell them to get you a few hours of a postpartum doula, right? Or a lactation consult. The ripple effects of that will be way better for your postpartum relationship, for either feeding your baby or your mental health. Taking a nap. People think like, oh, I need, like I said, things. I need this, right, for baby. But no, you need to rest, because sleep deprivation, malnutrition, that's like, I tell people in my class, that's like a torture tool. That's how we torture people. Sleep deprivation, right? Say like I don't know about Mother Nature, how she's, planned that so well, right? Because when baby comes and we're still sleep deprived. But again, we're so far removed from the village, right? Because you could, and you had people who would come in and just do these things. There wasn't a name of a postpartum doula, but you had the people who came in and automatically did this, right? Yeah. So yes, if you're going to have the baby shower, have a portion of it where you're passing around a list of who can come over and clean my bathroom, who can come over and do my laundry and or baby's laundry, who can go out and do food shopping. If you have a pet, who can walk the pet, who can water your plants. Anything that can be outsourced, put it on a list and have people sign up. And I say a ticket to see the baby is you have to do a chore. And people will do it, right? Who doesn't want to see a cute baby and snuggle with the baby? So I'm like, you can get people to do those things for you, right? But also it tells you, and I think this is the harder part for people, it really tells you who your support people are. Right? Because if you're asking me, LaShanda, can you come over and clean my bathroom? And I'm like, nah, girl, we cool. I ain't cleaning your bathroom. Right. That's somebody I want in my corner. When I'm telling you that I'm sick or I'm tired, I just need a nap. If you can't come over and clean my bath or just be able to sit, watch the baby or do some skin to skin with the baby while I'm sleeping and taking a nap, if you can't do that for me, then that's somebody who you don't really want in your corner. And that person may be your mother or your sister or your cousin or your father or the grandfather. And that's okay. But at least you know ahead of time where to put this person in your life. Right. So I think that's the thing that gets a lot of people in that early postpartum. It's not like the relationship, building that bond relationship with your child, but we also kind of break some bonds with other people when people really show you who they are. Right. But knowing that in the beginning, I've had people who have said like, oh, my mother-in-law is going to come stay. I'm like, how do you feel about that? You know, like mother-in-law may be very nice, but to be in the house in the first week or two when you're postpartum and you are tired and the baby is crying and somebody says, oh, this is really dirty, you know, like, or the littlest thing can set you off, right?
Absolutely.
Think about that. Who's going to be in your space? Sounds like a great idea. Yeah. But really think about that. And if you are having a little anxiety about that, then don't do it. Right?
Yeah.
Do it.
So important. And how is that in relationship to milk production? And, you know, how does that impact those physiological things that you might not even make the connection to?
Yeah. And I say, like, first of all, going back to naps, right? Rest makes sleep. I mean, sorry, I need some sleep. Rest makes milk, right? People are always like, what can I do? I'm like, you need to give your body just a time to calm down and let things flow. Because if you're stressing, that's going to stop the supply as well, right? So knowing who your support people are, knowing what's being realistic about what's going to happen and what you can tolerate, setting up, you know, if you don't have the support that, you know, like a lot of people don't have that close of a family or they're not really close with their family. Again, that's where the postpartum doula comes in, non-judgmental. They just want to be there to help you and your family get to where you want to be. They're not imparting like, oh, you should do this. Right. So that, or knowing a group, right, that you can go to. Just knowing, right? Again, making all of these lists prior to, because in the thick of it, when you're sleep deprived or malnourished, right, if you're not eating well and hydrating well, it gets so overwhelming.
Right. Now, I definitely, you know, can attest to all of those things. And I mean, that's phenomenal advice for anyone who, you know, is listening and maybe considering or have gone through the experience and may want to do something different this time around.
Yeah.
So what are some of the things that people can reach out to you for? What are some of the services that you provide?
I mainly do lactation now. So lactation, you can reach me. I believe you're putting up my email address. You can put up my email address. Say again.
Whatever is the best way to reach you. We'll definitely.
Yeah. So Uptown Village LC, as in lactation consultant, LC, is my email for any lactation support you need. I do have the Chocolate Milk Cafe, so I'm a facilitator. We have groups all around the nation. We're national. So if you go to chocolatemilkcafe.com and you click on the meetings page, you'll see all the meetings and you can join virtually. I do happen to lead the Harlem one, so you can find me there and reach me there as well. Uptownvillage.coop, I'm on there as well, and that's I can connect you with birth or postpartum doulas, and if you need lactation, through there as well. So.
And just to give people an understanding of some of the things that drive you, is there a story or an experience that you've had doing the work that you're doing that really is like, it exemplifies what keeps you going? Like,
A particular story? Well, not a particular story, but what keeps me going is, I think what started me and what keeps me going is that you mentioned in the bio is my daughter, right? So I'm raising a Black woman, right? And so a lot of why I got into this is because, again, the village has gone away, and what I started finding out, especially about lactation, is in the Black community, we weren't doing it. Right? We are doing it, by the way. There are many of us out there doing it, so I hate that stereotype. So, but I knew that I wanted her to see that, not hear that negative stereotype. I wanted her to see that. Right. So she, luckily I, work for myself. So she comes to groups with me to see people, feeding their babies from their body, using their breast for what they're actually used for. Right. Getting into this work and making sure that, hopefully I'm hoping that she'll talk to her friends about this. Like, this will just be a conversation that just continues. Right. And so being able to teach from that young, and then when I'm working with families and inspiring them to I hate that word, inspiring, but you know what I mean? Like, reminding them that you can do this, and and then it, you see that click in their head, they see someone who looks like them, we're talking about it and we're doing it, that I can see like, yeah, this is going to continue, and that's what we need, right? Like, this is how you continue that positivity and that, it growing, not growing, but re-emerging. Because again, we've always done this, right? It's been not spoken about a lot anymore, but let's continue to talk about it. Let's continue to show it, right? Chocolate Milk Cafe. If you go to our Instagram, Chocolate Milk Cafe, we actually have a fundraiser right now for Juneteenth, where we're highlighting all of the Black lactation change agents leading up to Juneteenth, right? For Black Breastfeeding Week is the last week in August, and we do a big thing, and mainly just blasting media of images of beautiful Black women, Black people, right, with babies at their body, feeding their babies from their body, or pumping milk and giving their babies human milk. Because again, this is what we've always done. And stop listening to the negative stereotype that, oh, they don't do this. Yes, we do. We are here. Come find us, and we'll help you. Right? We'll help you get to what works for you and your family.
I think that's phenomenal. I would definitely have that information included in the description of this, so that people can definitely reach out. We want to be able to support, especially in our community, when we have resources that are so valuable. And there's so many benefits. That education piece is so important, because to understand how the body works and why, there is the saying, breast milk is the best milk. Just to have that understanding. Again, everyone has a different circumstance and situation, and you always have to do what's best for you. But to just have that knowledge on board to make the best choices and decisions for yourself is just so impactful.
Exactly.
When the next generation, is in the process of bringing life into the world, breast milk isn't something that's a foreign concept. That is something that they were aware of, or even saw growing, and it was just the natural progression of becoming this is what we do.
Actually, I want to add to that. It's not just my daughter, but my nephews, right? They have been breastfed. They see that too. So they're around, because it's not just, we don't know how our children will identify down the road, but we know that however you identify, if you want to get your child some human milk, that's what we need to do, right? And this is how it happens. Right?
Yes, it's so valuable. I love all things birth, all things, motherhood, all things pregnancy, labor, breastfeeding, natural childbirth. All of those things, drive me and are the reason why, this platform is here, to have these discussions, to normalize these conversations, to let people see people that look like them discussing this, that are passionate about it, that are doing the work and impacting lives. I definitely want to make sure that we stay connected, that people are able to get in touch with you. The time has flown by so quickly, but we must do this again. I know, as you mentioned, that the last week of August is, we're focused on breastfeeding. So maybe we should do like every day of the week, we're just having conversations about human milk.
I'm with it. I'm with it.
So I would definitely be in touch. I'm grateful to make the connection. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Share, and please get in touch with Uptown Village Cooperative.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, nice to meet you, Hafeeza. And yes, I'm sure we will be talking much, much more.
Absolutely. Peace and blessings, family.